Hi, everyone. It's me, Leena Marie Saleh, the Edtech Guru. I wanted to reintroduce myself. I have been in education for most of my life. Even in high school, I went back and I taught in the classroom, and then I became a student teacher, and then I taught. And then I left the classroom after almost a decade. And then I moved straight into ed tech at a computer science company where I did a lot of things and I had a lot of opportunities. And I'm so thankful for the growth that I was able to do there. And I worked there for 3 years. And over that time, because I got to be on camera, I really remembered how much I enjoyed it. I had always done presentations and presented to staff. And that was some of the things that I really, really loved and supporting them. And so I decided to turn the camera on, put myself in front of it, and I just did it. I remember the first episode, I just checked my phone 100,000 times. Was anyone even watching? And there was maybe like 3 or 4 views. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to keep plugging away and we'll just see what comes of it. So, where have I been? What have I been up to? And why the heck has it been so long since I produced content? Well, part of the things that you haven't seen behind the scenes is that my work at Canva is really hard. It took a while for me to transition to understand how to work into from a really small startup to a really extremely large, almost corporate startup. I love it, but it really took me a lot of time to adjust and, kind of just learn where I fit within the structure of things. I was used to doing a lot of roles and I just had to hone in and do one and kind of just find my puzzle piece within the big puzzle and scheme of things. And so it took a while for me to do that. And so sometimes the content part kind of took a back burner. But in the meantime, I was still helping teacher transitioners. I do coach on the side. If you're interested in that, I do have a link on my website. I do have a ton of resources on my website as well. So I hope that you do check that out and you just kind of explore a bit about that and kind of what I offer there. But I always am very passionate about giving as much free resources as possible. And if you want some more intentional coaching, I do provide that as well. But all of that took a backseat because we did our IVF journey. We started in January. In February, we did an egg retrieval, and that means daily appointments, weekly appointments. I was up and down in the IVF, doing fertility treatments and doing all sorts of things. And up to one point, right before my egg retrieval, I was up to 7 shots a night, just really just trying to get my body prepped for this baby that we had longed for over 2.5 years. And then we did our egg retrieval, and then I flew to vet and I did a conference. And as soon as I came back, then we got pregnant. Obviously, not an accident with the help of science and test tubes. I'm so very thankful for that. And immediately, almost 6 weeks in, as soon as we knew that the pregnancy was viable, I started becoming so nauseous. It was so weird. I would look at my screen and it would make me sick. Like I was going on a roller coaster every day. Now we know now that my son is the most active baby I've probably ever met, even when I nannied in school and babysat and all of those things. So it makes sense that he was very active in the womb as well. But I was so sick, I couldn't eat most things. Most things would make me deathly ill. By the end of the evening, I was in a ball almost every night in tears, I just couldn't do it. And I just remember thinking, how can people have pregnancies like this? And lo and behold, that's what my pregnancy was. I try to work out and walk every single day with my dog, and I would throw up halfway through the walk. So it was just an interesting thing. There was a lot of challenges with that, but there was also a lot of joys watching your body change, feeling the kicks for the first time, seeing your baby on the ultrasound screen. All of those things are just so special. Something else that you really learn is that people don't really know a lot about pregnancy. Not a lot of things have been tested on women. So everything is abnormal or normal, I guess you would say. You could go to your doctor and say, "Hey, I have an arm sticking out of my stomach." And they'd be like, "Oh, that's normal, just part of pregnancy. Just keep on going." Something really interesting about pregnancy is each month that goes on, you get less and less sleep. And now I know that it really preps you for that postpartum period when you don't get any sleep at all. So your body is just slowly preparing you for that. I was winded. I had acid reflux so bad that I couldn't even sit on my Peloton bike. And I'm really avid into working out. I really believe that a healthy body leads to a healthy mind. And I am a lifetime, you know, athlete. I really like to work out and lift weights and play sports and do all that kind of thing. So yeah, but it was really special just really getting to learn certain things. And you do so much prepping for the pregnancy and for the delivery that you don't really prep much for after. I ended up having a emergency C-section. It is a bad story, but which I'll tell on a different podcast that I'm starting. So I'll soon come to share that with you. just more about parenthood and maternity leave and all of those things and what it really is like as a working stay-at-home mom. Anyway, so when I came home, I just didn't have anything prepped. And my husband is an entrepreneur, and so he didn't have maternity or paternity leave. It was just me. So it was kind of just left, having him help me as much as possible. And the my son immediately, as soon as out of the womb, he just started choking and started like asphyxiating. And they were just like, it's normal, it's normal, it's normal, until the point that he couldn't sleep. I had to set him up at an angle to be able to sleep. And so that was really hard. It was really hard to not have any sleep and to go from these really high level strategy docs and training adults to every single day just not having any sleep. Like I'm talking hardly any sleep. And especially because my son was colic and has acid reflux. Oh gosh. And he would just scream for hours and 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 hours. It would be to the point where I'd be walking and crying at the same time. It was really, really hard. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever navigated. But what's also hard is that your brain is so used to being this one way. And I'm older. I am 38 years old and or will be 38 this year. And so I just know who I was as a person. And here I'm developing. I've always known I wanted to be a mom. I dreamed about it as a kid. I had babies that I used to play with all the time. I remember I used to have a baby that I'd bring with me on vacations. And one time her arm broke and it was the most devastating thing ever. I used to take it everywhere with me. I loved playing babies and doing that sort of thing. So I always knew that I wanted to be a mom and I always felt like I had this maternal instinct to do so. But anyway, on maternity leave, you just learn new things about yourself and who you are and what you stand for. And I just remember sitting there at night when nobody else is awake but me and the baby and just thinking, oh, who am I? Is this all that there is? And I was so joyful and so blessed to be a mom. But it was also that moment of like, wow, I was over here helping people leave their jobs and doing this, helping edtech companies strategize and, building out trainings for Canva and doing all these types of things that like here I am just changing poopy diapers. And so it was really hard. And I'm still finding that balance between what does it look like to be a mom? What does it look like to be a professional and to have that drive to function at a high level? And how do you do life and everything in between? And I'll be really honest with you, I drop the balls all the time. I think we like to make it look this really luxurious way. And I've never said that. I always like to struggle. I always like a productive struggle. And so that's what it is every day. My husband has been really helpful and things like that. And my son is on the move, has always been on the move. He's wanted to stand since he was like 2 months old. He'd just rather stand than do anything else. And now he's crawling around and he's very active everywhere and he crawls everywhere. He's been crawling since he was 6 months and he's now 8 months as of yesterday. And he is on the move. And I know he's going to be walking soon. He's just very, very active. And so that's great. And it's so fun. And it's probably the best part so far. But there were some dark moments where I was sitting there and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Am I even passionate about edtech? Do I even like education? Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Who am I? And I just really had to navigate that piece. And I think many mothers feel that. And I was sure fathers feel that too. I don't think that it's just a mother only thing. Like you're trying to balance and you feel this pressure to take care of your family. And kind of what does that look like? And so I had to drop all the balls I was juggling, I had to drop the content ball. And that was really hard for me. I cried countless occasions when I was pregnant and when I was, and I'm not a crier, everybody. I don't like to cry. It's just not my thing. But I would cry and I would just be so upset that I wasn't, and I felt like I was letting so many people down. And the interesting part is I have created so much content to date and have provided such value that my audience stayed. And I'm so thankful for all of you. And if you're new, thank you so much for joining. This isn't the typical bits of content I do, but I just felt like it was really owed to do. But the instant bond that you have between your baby is just so immense. And you just have to learn how to juggle all of these things. And I remember I went back to work after basically 20 weeks away. So I'm really lucky and blessed that Canva has such a great maternity leave policy. And I was able to take that time. And I took a couple weeks just because I'm not a big vacationer. I don't really take days off. Anyone who puts out as much content as most people that you see do, they don't take a lot of time off. They will spend intentional time, but not a lot of time off. So, yeah. And basically, around month 3, I stopped thinking about work and I just only thought about my baby and what that meant. And then at the 20 weeks, I went back to work, and that's right when a sleep regression happens. How cool is that? So, your baby goes from sleeping pretty consistently, which Axon's never been a really good sleeper, to being up almost every single hour and trying to navigate what that's like. They're hungry, they want you, there's all these sorts of things. And I'm also breastfeeding. I know most moms can't do that. Some can. Whatever your journey is whatever your journey is. But you being as the main food source, it's a bit tricky. And so going back to work, hiring a nanny, and we are lucky to have a nanny, but hearing their joy, hearing their cries, all the things is really hard sometimes to navigate. So I just actually not sponsored, got some Bose quiet headphones, and they're probably the most life changing thing I've ever bought for myself. But coming back to work and learning how to balance how to be a professional with spit up in your hair, always having with not even getting ready still, no makeup kind of look for a while. I never thought I would go to the store in my pajamas, but I have done that now. I never thought I would not brush my hair or not wash it or, not style it in some capacity, but you just do it. Eventually, all things come back and it's always a cyclical motion. But yeah. Yeah. And so my perspective changed when I came back to work and that I wanted to make sure that any of the work I was doing was intentional. I'm a big people pleaser and I've made posts about this on LinkedIn and other places, but I am a yes man. I really want to show my worth and my value. And I believe that as many things you can take on teaches you something. And I will take risks and I will learn new things, even if it takes me hours to make sure that I have new skill sets. And I've always wanted to achieve at that high level. I'm not bragging. This is not a brag. I was even like in the gifted talent program, just constantly always getting in trouble for talking too much and wanting to have more things. So that's just who I am as a person. But it's really difficult because it's like, do you pick up these extra projects that take you away from your baby? Or do you just kind of skate by? And that's something I've never done before. I'm always like, yep, let me climb this hill. Give me 9,000 pounds on my back and I'm going to carry it up and I'm going to figure it out. So I kind of had to stop doing that. And it's really hard. It's also equally hard watching your partner continue to go up the hill. Obviously, it all ends up being a balance. You end up having an equal distribution or sharing, one person's carrying heavier than one person and you kind of have that like share back and forth of the weight. But it was really hard. I don't know who would tell you anything different. I think most people don't open up about it and I think I was most surprised about that part. Like, how do we work cohesively as a unit and how do I work as a professional? I just don't think people talk about what it's the actual part of what it's like to come back as a mother, as a professional. I think we skate by it. I think we skate over it. Obviously, until you're actually a parent, you don't really understand. Like before, I thought I got it. I thought I really understood, but now I really get it. And it's just a different world. But now I'm finding that I'm pushing back and I'm fighting harder for things that I believe in. And I think that's all that really matters. And I think that moving forward, I will be taking, clients who want to, or teachers who are looking to transition out of the classroom so that, they are supported. I think that's all that we can do. I usually take a couple of people on every couple of months and get them jobs and work through everything. And then usually we become lifelong friends, is usually how it's happened, or sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't really matter. I just want to see my clients and teachers who are transitioning to have success. And I hope that you click on the content and you watch it. It's really intentional and meaningful, or at least we try to do that. That's where my heart is. And I hope that when you watch each of these interviews, you think to yourself, oh, wow, it just feels like I know her and she's friendly and we're having a cup of coffee and we're just shooting the shit, because I think that's the most important part about producing content and just being. So, where do I hope we go moving forward? I want to continue on doing my series and I want to be more open and honest about what it's like to be a working professional handling a family, because I think that's an important part too. And if you choose not to have a family, that's okay too. Literally everything in life is up to you and whatever you decide. Nobody should shame anyone for anything. And I feel there's a lot of shame on either side, and there shouldn't be. We should support and lift everyone up as much as we can. And for that, we would have a better world. Obviously, everyone knows that, but that's just how I feel. And I just would love to hear your experiences, any questions that you may have for me, any content that you would have, throw that down below. I hope that you subscribe, share with someone who you know would have some value out of this. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.